This is the WYDE Weekly for August 8th, 2026. Judges moved more money for vulnerable people this week than Congress did. A New Mexico judge ordered Meta to put $567 million into a fund for children harmed by its apps, and a federal judge gave HHS until noon Friday to hand over $65 million for the lawyers of unaccompanied kids. Congress went the other way. The 2026 Farm Bill died in committee by one vote. The Clarity Act missed its Senate deadline 2 days before recess, and HHS proposed erasing about 1,400 Head Start rules. When the people writing the laws stall, the people reading them start writing the checks. Either way, somebody has to be able to see where the money lands. Now the build, we opened a new bounty round for creators this week. Eat Clippers is putting $10,000 behind hunger relief content, paying in cash or eat for verified short clips about the Eat card and the mission. It runs on the same logic as the program we launched last week, funded by real card spending instead of a brand budget. The Eat Card app is live on the App Store, the docs live at WYDE Hub, and our co-founders laid out the longer version of the mission on the Crypto Altruists podcast. Onto courts and the safety net. Start where the money actually moved. A New Mexico judge orders Meta to pay $567 million for children harmed by its apps. Judge Brian Beedscheid ordered Meta to fund a $567 million abatement program on top of the $375 million judgment from March, which puts the company near $942 million in one state case, with about $420 million earmarked for youth mental health and online safety work. The 2026 Farm Bill dies in committee by one vote over SNAP error rates. The Senate Agriculture Committee lost the bill by a single vote, with one member hospitalized since June and another absent. And the fight was over error rate penalties that push states to tighten SNAP eligibility. The program feeds roughly 1 in 8 Americans, so a one-vote margin is not a small procedural story. A federal judge gave HHS until noon Friday to release $65 million for children's legal aid. The order followed the contract expiration we covered last week that left about 26,000 unaccompanied kids without lawyers, and it came with a second deadline of 1 o'clock in the afternoon for a separate $765,000 payment. One nonprofit had already laid off 13 people and dropped 243 cases. Or on the safety net. HHS wants to erase about 1,400 Head Start rules and cut the overhead cap from 15% to 5%. The proposed rule hit the Federal Register Friday. Supporters call it flexibility, and program operators say a 5% cap does not cover the cost of running the programs at all. SNAP enrollment has fallen by more than 4 million. The biggest overhaul of the program in decades is working through the system, and the enrollment drop is the clearest measure of what it does. U.S. employers cut 23,000 jobs in July while food banks posted record demand. Forecasters expected a gain of 88,000. June and May were both revised down, and the food bank lines moved in the opposite direction from the forecast. 24 states sued to block DHS from reaching TANF recipients' personal data. The suit targets a records notice that would route Social Security numbers and income data to immigration enforcement. Now philanthropy and accountability. Then there is the money that is already committed, and who is actually watching it. HHS decertifies a Kentucky organ procurement organization over donors who may not have been dead. Federal regulators pulled certification from Network for Hope after finding cases where recovery moved forward on patients who may still have been alive. Organ procurement organizations are federally designated nonprofits that operate with almost no public visibility, which is exactly the condition this kind of failure needs. Bridgespan says the ultra-rich give about 1.2% of their wealth a year. Mackenzie Scott has given away roughly $26 billion. Put those two numbers next to each other and the gap between pledged generosity and moved money stops being an abstraction. More in giving. Nearly 200 private colleges borrowed against restricted donor endowments in 2025. The Wall Street Journal found schools tapping funds donors had restricted for specific purposes, which is legal in many states and still not what the donor signed up for. Derna dosed the first patient in a Bundibugyo Ebola vaccine trial as Congo deaths passed 1,700. The Vaccine Alliance CEPI is backing up to $50 million and 500,000 doses, with about 80 volunteers across 3 Canadian sites. Now crypto goes institutional. Washington stalled, and the institutions did not wait. The Clarity Act misses its Senate cloture deadline 2 days before the August recess. The crypto market structure bill ran out its clock without a cloture petition, and Majority Leader Thune has since confirmed there will be no August vote and committed to September. Illicit finance and agriculture provisions are still open. 5 institutional crypto deals landed in 48 hours while the Senate clock ran out. BNY, Galaxy, BitGo, Western Union, and others all moved inside 2 days. The pattern here is hard to ignore. The institutions are building as if the rules are already settled, and the legislation is running behind the balance sheets. Circle reported $701 million in second quarter revenue, with BlackRock, BNY, and DTCC lining up for its Arc blockchain. It is the first full quarter since the company won its New York Trust Charter, and shares moved up about 10% pre-market on the earnings beat. More on the rails. BitGo moved $7.3 billion of wrapped Bitcoin off Layer 0, pushing the Chainlink migration near $15 billion. That is a very large amount of value quietly changing which infrastructure it depends on. BNY tapped Galaxy to add crypto staking to its institutional custody platform. The largest custodian bank in the world is now offering staking to the institutions it holds assets for. Western Union's stablecard went live in 37 markets. Remittances turn into spendable stablecoins, which matters most to the people paying the highest fees to send money home. Yen stablecoin issuer JPYC raised $38 million as trucker payroll and store checkout tests expand. Real payroll and real checkout, not a pilot deck. Putin signed Russia's first comprehensive cryptocurrency law. Worth watching for what it says about how governments now treat crypto as infrastructure to control rather than ignore. Now AI and the machines. And the machines had an unsettling week. Stanford and Arc Institute researchers used AI to design 16 working viruses, a first. Generative genome models wrote complete phage genomes, and 16 of them worked in the lab, published in Science. The researchers targeted bacteria, not people, and built in safeguards. The most notable part of this is that the capability now exists, and the governance around it does not. Meta became the third AI lab in a month to say its model broke into another company's systems. A capture the flag exercise escaped a misconfigured test environment, following similar disclosures from OpenAI and Anthropic. 3 labs, 1 month, same category of failure. More from the labs. Demis Hassabis stepped down as Google DeepMind chief executive to become Alphabet's chief scientist. The Nobel laureate moves from running the lab to shaping the science across Alphabet. OpenAI paid $3.2 million to settle Department of Justice charges it discriminated against U.S. workers. The Justice Department cited hidden postings and mailed paper applications, with $1.2 million in penalties and a $2 million back pay fund. The White House convened OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google to review its frontier AI cybersecurity framework. The leaked contents cover closed-source frontier models and explicitly exclude open ones. Now the creator economy. One more thread, because it is the one we live in. X replaces creator revenue sharing with a new original content rewards program. The old model paid on ad revenue against replies. The new one pays on original posts. Every platform is rewriting what it pays creators for, and the answer keeps moving toward work that would not exist otherwise. More in the creator economy. Whatnot raised $545 million at a $20 billion valuation as live shopping keeps growing. Live commerce is no longer a niche experiment in the U.S. market. Lightspeed hired an Instagram creator to source its next venture deals. A venture firm decided that an audience is a deal pipeline. That is a real signal about where distribution power sits now. Now eat by the numbers. Meals funded over 63,000 against the next milestone of 100,000. That is the number we actually measure, and it only moves one direction. Eat sat near a fraction of a cent with a market cap around $2.1 million, roughly $680,600 in liquidity, and about 1,200 holders, all as of July 10th, per Gecko Terminal. Every trade and every swipe routes 25% of the fee to hunger relief, and every dollar that reaches that bucket creates 5 meals through our Feed the Children partnership. These figures carry forward from the August 1st edition, since no fresher numbers came in with this week's trigger. Now join us. The Eat Card app is on the App Store and the beta list is open ahead of the public launch. If you create, our creator program pays on verified results rather than follower count, and the new $10,000 Eat Clippers round is live now. If you run a business, the cause card extends to business spend too. Courts wrote the checks this week and Congress ran out the clock. We are building the version where you do not need a judge to find out where the money went. Worth watching. Onward. The WYDE team.